If you wanted to say something, you could speak. And after the rest of it.
Patrick, we can start whenever.
It's hard for me to do.
You would like to.
Does the call to order come after roll call? That was before.
Before.
Yeah, we can go ahead and get started. Call to order for our meeting. Start up with roll call. Start clockwise with the departing chair,
Michael Chisolm.
Guests as well. Bruce Raymond.
Killian Williams.
Mel England.
Nathaniel Sierra. Josh Goldstein.
Pat Fitzgerald,
Lana Garcia.
Tracy Sabina.
Hillary Carlin.
Dan Paremba.
2 online.
Rick Emmelheinz, present.
Elizabeth Shaw, present.
And that's everyone we got. So yeah, welcome to our guests. I think we have a couple of good presentations coming up tonight. Some nice words from our departing chair as well. But yeah, with that, move forward to approval of last meeting's minutes. Any questions, comments, edits from that? If not, I'll start a motion. I'll open a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes.
I'll second it.
Seconded.
Great, and then all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
And perfect. Last meeting's minutes are approved. So yeah, with that, we'll move forward to the public forum. Did we have anyone here? Is this where Michael is speaking, or is that later?
Yes,
Okay.
so this is where Michael's speaking, and anyone from the public, you're allowed up to 3 minutes if you want to have kind of any presentation or anything to the Sustainability Commission you would like to see or speak about.
Are you speaking, Mike?
I'll use less than 3 minutes.
I'm gonna clock.
Mike, do you want me to put, actually, I am going to pull up your letter just
Oh,
so
okay.
that it's public
Thank you.
too, of course. And then maybe it would be helpful for our new folks if you introduced who you are and
Okay.
the position you used to have. At least I think it would be helpful.
I'm Michael Chisolm, and I'm the past chairperson of this group. I've been on the Sustainability Commission for 4 years, if not longer, because I started when it was Keep Englewood Beautiful. So I'm an old timer, and all I wanted to do tonight was basically to commend the commission. I really think that the commission has gotten better. I think it's gotten more educated and more proactive, and I just want to say thank you, keep up the good work, I guess. And I think the city council's been great because they've given us the freedom to define our role to some extent. And tree ordinance was a good example. They asked our opinion, we gave some feedback, and I think it's in consideration, and I think we'll have a tree ordinance. So it's working. And I love the new people coming in. There's new ideas, new energy. So I'm a cheerleader. Keep it up. I wrote a letter to the members of the commission and basically said, here are some things that I hope you keep on your radar. If you read the letter, I won't read it to you. But there are issues out there that I hope the commission keeps in their sight, is tuned into it and speaks up if there's ever an opportunity to speak up on those issues. So there's my letter. But I won't read it to you. You can read it yourself. And those are my opinions. You know, they're worth what you're paying for. But and then my last comment is, I will be doing a composting seminar the last Saturday in March over at the Urban Garden, the Depot Garden. So however that can get communicated, great. And we're also thinking about doing it once a month through the summer.
Are you pairing up with Compost Colorado by any chance?
No, I haven't signed up. I mean, I don't know what you mean.
I didn't know if you were like involving them in any way.
No. Joe Fleener is a guy that works in the urban garden. He's a gardener, and he's been composting for years, and he's got a nice system over there. And I hooked up with him and said, hey, you do cleanups every month anyways, that'd be a great way for people to kind of watch and ask questions. So very informal,
Okay. Well, let's
but we're
talk,
open to connecting in any way that we can connect, so.
because I'm now working with them. So-
Okay,
Or-
so
Yes.
all advice would be welcome, but I think there's some folks out there that have some basic interest in how to do it and how not to do it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd say a large part of the progress that this commission has made is largely attributable to you. Kind of highlighting our role to city council and kind of pushing the envelope of, not letting us sequester ourselves away and allowing our voices and opinions be heard. So a lot of that is attributable to you. And I got big shoes to fill. So thank you for everything you've
All
done.
right, appreciate it.
And then my quick question, do you still want to do Gallo after this tonight as celebratory? What would
It's-
you like?
I'm ambivalent. It's cold out there tonight. People may want to come up and
It's
get
not
home. So
Golden Gallo.
I'm always up for an adult beverage, so it's kind of. If one person goes, I'll go.
We are gonna go there tonight. It's already posted online after the meeting as a send-off celebratory for Mike. And it's totally optional
Totally.
for folks who want to go.
Thank you.
Right. Assume we don't have any other public forum comments.
Bruce, anything, or any other one from the guests?
I just want to thank you too, Mike, because I haven't been on the commission very long, but I've seen you as a leader. And so I think that we will all really miss you, but I just want to say that I respect the work that you've done here.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Bruce Raymond, I just simply wanted to say that I wanted to observe, and so that's why I'm here tonight. I was actually invited by him to come and check it out, so that's what I'm here for, and to see if there's a future for me to get involved.
Great.
Cool.
All right, next is, sorry, Patrick, I'm trying to go as fast as I can.
No, you're good.
Next is the welcome of our new members and the swearing in.
Which one do you want to do first?
Up to you, Patrick. There's no right or wrong.
We'll start with some introductions
Yeah.
for our new members. I believe you're going to be a new member? Yeah. Go ahead. Feel free to give a quick spiel where you live in Englewood, how long you've lived here, what inspired you to one.
Yeah, and I, as of right now, I'm an alternate member, so if I'm not voting on anything tonight, it looks like we have enough for a quorum without me voting, so that is why for everything else. I'm in Forest Hill, right on Clarkson, right in between, between Forest Hill and I think Bates Logan, next neighborhood over. The boundary between the districts there. Moved to Englewood a little over 2 years ago because we had the chance to have a place where we could garden and rent a place where we could have a yard. And moving here is what inspired me to look for ways to get involved, just being in a smaller city where my vote matters more. I've seen several votes come down to thin margins as just a constituent here. And felt like this is a community where I can actually do something. And that's what kind of inspired me. And I also have a personal interest in sustainability. I've been biking and walking around Denver and the rest of the Front Range since we got here. And yeah, what I'm hoping to get out of part of being the commission is what the most inspiring thing in the sustainability or the climate resiliency workshop that we did was seeing everybody, some people were bringing personal concerns, which are all valid, but a lot of people were bringing up stuff that didn't necessarily directly affect them and really wanting to consider, like lots of people were just bringing up concerns for community members who might not have been present. And I really would like to continue to make sure we're hearing from everyone in Englewood.
Awesome. Thanks. Is there someone else?
Yeah. I don't know if there's anyone else though.
Okay, you go right ahead.
Hillary Gerwin. I live in Whitaker. The Sprouts on that corner of like Broadway Bellevue is a good landmark for close to where I live. Been here for 3 years and honestly co-sign everything that you said. The workshop was really great and it was really inspiring to see how engaged people were. I work at an environmental nonprofit during the day, but it's less locally focused. It's more national, global. So I'm very excited to try to make a change in my own backyard. And I think in terms of what I'm hoping to get out of being part of the commission, like making change locally, like I mentioned, being part of a like-minded group of people, and yeah, just helping Englewood continue to be a better place to live and work.
Fantastic. Sounds great.
I love how people know their neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's only been a couple of years. And
I
people
know,
already
the
their
map.
neighborhoods. Yeah, the map. It's cool. Well, welcome. Welcome to you, Killian and Hillary, was it?
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. And I didn't pay them to say that they loved the workshop, so that was nice. Okay, now we are going to recite and sign the oaths, which this is everyone's favorite part. It's really painless, though, I promise.
It's
Lana.
nerve-wracking, though. Gotta remember words.
You have to give us your firstborn. And I'm gonna read off of one of yours. How many kids? How many?
You don't have
Never the
to.
dogs. Never the dogs. Anyone here has the oaths? Everyone good with it? Okay, so I'll read it and then you all follow after. Just if I say I blank, that means I, your name. And then we'll read through it out loud and then you sign it and then you're officially a member or alternate member of the commission. Any questions before we begin? Great. All right, so you say, I blank do solemnly swear or affirm.
I, Killian Williams, do solemnly swear or affirm
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will
support the Constitution of the United States,
The Constitution of the State of Colorado.
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
And the Charter and ordinances of the City of Englewood.
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Englewood,
And that I will, to the best of my ability,
And that I will,
to the best of my ability,
faithfully perform the duties of office as a member of the Sustainability Commission during my continuance therein.
faithfully perform the duties of office as an alternate member of the Sustainability Committee during my continuance therein.
Fabulous. All right. So you have 2 pieces of paper, one you keep and one I need a copy of. And I can get them at the end, so no worries there.
I didn't know we swore in committee members.
Yeah?
I didn't know that.
Yeah? All right.
Do we have to de-swear Mike?
I can de-sworn.
Probably a good idea.
Mike was rudely de-sworn because he thought this was his de-swearing name. Okay, now is the election of the chair and vice chair. Patrick, lead the way, and if you want any help, I am here.
Do we ask for nomination and then confirmation? Okay, so I guess I'll open up a motion to nominate a chair for the Sustainability Commission.
I'll nominate Patrick. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Oh, that's who I was going to nominate. Second.
Seconded. Perfect. All right. Now I am the chair of the Sustainability Commission officially.
Was there any other nominations for chair?
Unanimous.
Okay, and then we open for an actual vote for that.
Okay. Now, is that just by aye? Raise hands.
Yes, all in favor.
All in favor for the election of me to the chair?
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed?
Any nays?
Aye.
I thought Rick was gonna be. All right.
Any nays? Did I?
Yeah.
That Nobody's? Okay, perfect. That's not a shocker. But.
Rick has his hand raised.
Can we make nominations for vice?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna nominate Tracy.
Second.
Got a second for nomination. Tracy, any other nominations for vice chair? Perfect.
Can I decline?
No.
Ah,
I really, really appreciate it. I just have like lots on my plate and I would.
It's all good. I will say, and Patrick can attest, I don't think it's not a lot.
You do nothing.
You do.
Unless I don't
Fine. Fine. I'll do
But
it.
it's complete, I think people
No, it's
get
fine.
worried that it's like a huge time commitment, and it's not as heavy of a time commitment
It's,
as what we think.
okay.
It's just if I don't
Sign me
show
up.
up, then
Sign
you
me up.
present.
Yeah.
All right, and then we got seconded, so now I'll open a vote to elect Tracy to vice chair.
Can she get out of it if she's like, if she needs it?
Yeah, I think you can always step out of your
Okay,
vice chair
okay.
role, yeah.
Okay, all in favor of voting Tracy to vice chair?
Aye.
aye.
Any nays? All right.
Wow, there's no battle, no anything.
So confirm Tracy is vice chair for 2025 Sustainability Commission.
Woo!
Good work, guys.
All right.
All right, now moving on to standing community projects updates.
Okay, this is a lot of wording on here. I just put, because folks sent links to me to share to the group, and I just want to make sure it's public so everyone sees it. It's the links that you all already saw. It's just on the slide, so it's public.
Perfect. I see the parody music video.
Yes.
Great.
Oh my gosh.
Bills.
But for context for new folks, the standing community projects ones, there was so much like great work that that commission members were doing. And the commission wanted kind of a standing space in the beginning where like we have a communication subcommittee, so sometimes they give updates here. Sometimes Tracy has given stuff about the amazing volunteer stuff she has. So this is just kind of an open forum, free for all spot, just as a background.
Can I?
Yep, go right ahead.
So, the sustainability grant I received, with the little libraries, that it's focused on sustainability. We have one that's, put in place. It hasn't been officially opened yet, and then we have two more that are gonna go in place. But the one that's gonna be more of a public event will be the one at the Inglewood Rec Center, and that will most likely happen in March. I'm still working with Sarah at the Rec Center to get that up and going, but we wanna make it more of a kind of an event, and maybe do a workshop with it. That was also with Compost Colorado. So once I know the date, it would be awesome. I'll invite you all to come and join. But and then the third one will be at the Baird Park when we get that park up and going. So that will be kind of a much bigger event because I'll be doing a planting in the spring for the neighborhood grant that I received to do that. But there will also be a library there. So I'm excited about the spring, a lot coming up. Just wanted to put that out there.
Awesome. Any other community project updates?
Tracy, did you say Bear Park? So is that the Charles A?
Yeah.
Just north of Charles, okay.
It's just right there
Yeah.
at the Downing.
Cool.
All right, if not, go ahead and move on to our standing Decarb DRCOG updates.
Do you want to give the folks a background on what this is?
Yeah. DRCOG stands for Denver Regional Council of Governments, and it's 58 governments in the metro area. and they applied for a CPRG grant, which is Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, I want to say, from the EPA, and they got it. It's a humongous amount of money, and it's all focused on buildings decarbonization. And it has 3 or 4 different main parts of the stool. One part is a policy component where representatives from many of the local governments will meet and agree on policies they can each adopt for building decarbonization, and that might include building codes, benchmarking, and others TBD. Another part of it is incentives for homeowners to adopt or upgrade to heat pumps and heat pump water heaters. And those will be focused on or prioritized for lower income households. And a third component is workforce, a huge workforce component to train up the new generation of HVAC installers and upskill current HVAC installers. And I think it might also include related trades like electricians, et cetera, so that we have people to install all of these new zero emission technologies. And then there's a communications component, communications, marketing, engagement. And so all of those are up and getting started. Since we talked last, they've put out 3 different RFPs. One is for running the incentives part. One is for facilitating the policy part. It's called the Buildings Policy Collaborative, or BPC. And another one is on, I forgot, they might have got 4.
They have the low-income disadvantaged community subgroup for it.
Okay. So that's the progress. There is getting the RFPs out and then collecting respondents in to help them run this gigantic new opportunity. And meanwhile, hanging over everyone's head is uncertainty whether this will happen or not, because all the funding for climate-related efforts and equity-related efforts has been frozen at the federal level. And no one knows if that will stall or delay or cancel this particular project. The general rule of thumb or common understanding is that once you have money committed from the federal government, so you have a signed contract, that should be safe. It's a highly legal term known as no takesies backsies. But sometimes the standard rules or rules of thumb maybe don't apply anymore, so no one really knows. So we'll be waiting to see if this once in a generation transformative initiative will happen as it's envisioned or not.
All right. Well, keep us posted.
Can I ask a semi-related question? Just about the EV charging, has that been stopped for Inglewood?
That's a great question. No. So we had, our city attorneys reached out to us and they were like, please check with the state to make sure nothing will happen. We reached out to them when we got confirmation that funding is through the state already committed. So we're safe on that one. And we have our procurement memo going to council either, if we're lucky and city clerks is really friendly with us, they'll let us go on the 18th, but worst case it'll be March, and then we're under contract and ready to go. But that one is safe, thank goodness.
All right, perfect. Let's see, I think we can move on to, up next is our Civic Center discussion. So, yeah, Josh and Dan, feel free to take it away.
Who goes first?
You can go first,
Okay.
that's fine.
Tee it up, Josh. All right. Melissa, do you?
Yes. Would it actually be a little helpful, Mike, I know you're no longer on the commission, maybe just like a quick background of like, because you were the one with the inspiration for this discussion.
I met Josh a month ago. I went to the museum downstairs on a Saturday, just out of curiosity, and was blown away by It's not a video, I'm sorry, Josh, I used the wrong terminology, the show.
Simulation.
And you got a great show, and he was walking me through it, and it was a real eye-opener for me, just to appreciate Cinderella City and the history. It's pretty cool stuff, fascinating history, and I learned this building was part of a shopping center. And so Josh was answering my questions, and I said, is there any way you could talk to the Sustainability Commission just for their edification, just so they know? And he said, yeah, I happen to have a 10-minute short that I can play. So I'm guessing that's what you're going to go through. But Josh is a gold mine of information, and I'm really admiring your commitment to sustainability.
Thanks, Mike. And Mel, if you don't mind opening up the one with today's date, the PDF first.
The PDF, not the video?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm gonna just do a quick intro and then we'll get into the video. Yeah, and I highly recommend anybody who's interested in the history of this area and what this building was attached to. We have a great museum. I'm the secretary of the Historic Inglewood, so our historic society. And I built an interactive simulation of Cinderella City, so I can walk you through the mall in 1968 and then fast forward into 1988 and show you how it changed. So it's pretty cool. It's actually brought people to tears in the theater, so it's the people who remember it really appreciate it. All right, sweet, thanks. I'm gonna try my little clicker. Does this work?
Oh, maybe I have to have it in present mode.
Sure, try it, if you don't mind. It's a PDF, so.
Oh, maybe you can't.
Oh, but
yeah.
I got it, it's working.
There you go.
Oh wait, or was that you?
That was me.
Wow,
Yeah.
I tried.
Just tell me when and I can click down.
Okay,
if that's
well,
okay.
yeah, it's gonna be a quick one on this. I'm gonna stand because it just feels more formal. All right, yeah, so next slide. Hello everybody, I'm Josh Goldstein. Next slide. I'm a huge nerd. I was born here, well, I was born in Littleton, and seeing the demolition of Cinderella City got me interested in architecture. Next slide. I went to Flood Middle School. I went to Inglewood High School, so I graduated in 2008. And next slide. So Cinderella City got me interested in architecture. I decided I wanted to be an architect when I saw that thing coming down because it seemed really kind of unsustainable. You know, the most sustainable building is the one that's already built. So even as a kid, I was sort of shocked at the scale of that waste. And I went and worked at Alberta Development. They worked on the streets at South Glen. So I worked up on that project and documented that mall when it came down and kind of worked with the developers and the designers on the new design for that. Maybe my clicker is working.
I think that
Sweet,
is.
great. So then I went off and got a Master of Architecture degree at Kansas State University. I only went out of state because it was a really good school, top 10 at the time. Worked for a mixed-use developer for a few years, and now I find myself working at Autodesk. They're a big technology company that does architectural 3D modeling software. So I actually used the software to rebuild Cinderella City, and I created something called the Cinderella City Project. So again, that's downstairs in the Historic Inglewood Museum, if you'd like to take a look at that someday. This all brought me back to my start a little bit, and I found out that there were plans or thoughts about tearing down this building, and so to me, this just allowed this. I decided to start this project, a little bit of a petition to save the Civic Center again, because the most sustainable building is the one that's already built. I kind of came full circle. I used our modeling system to make a new put together some thoughts on what we could do with this building if we were to adaptively reuse it instead of tear it down. And so, yeah, this also helps me pay homage to this site, which is the reason I got into architecture. And then I just want to tell you, so the presentation I'm going to give you today is a quick concept video. It's like a 5-minute video. I made it in 2020 during the pandemic, so I apologize for the reference to social distancing. And there's a change.org petition that I put together, and it currently has 1,210 signatures to save this building. And there's also a vision book that I put together for this, and this is like an in-depth 35-page, 11 by 17 document that has diagrams and numbers and all the things. So it's I kind of have both sides of it, like a quick public, get everybody excited about the vision, and then just to show that I'm not fooling around here. There are some real numbers behind this. And with that, if you want to launch the video, that would be great. This is embarrassing because I don't like hearing my own voice, but same way. We have audio.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Rick and Elizabeth, can you let us know if you guys can hear it? Just give a thumbs up.
Yeah, I thought I heard it for a second, but start it again.
Same
You
here.
might recognize this building.
Oh,
Since
good.
1999, it's been known as the Inglewood Civic Center. But did you know that the Civic Center building was originally part of the late, great Cinderella City Mall, at one time the largest mall west of the Mississippi? The structure we know today was built as a Broadway Southwest department store in the mid-1980s as part of a major renovation to modernize Cinderella City. When the mall was redeveloped in 1998, the former department store was saved from demolition, and the city of Inglewood converted it into the multifunctional building we know today. Now, this iconic Inglewood landmark is once again at risk of demolition. The city of Inglewood plans to redevelop certain parts of the city center neighborhood, and the Civic Center building may fall to the wrecking ball if action isn't taken. Hello, Inglewood. I'm Josh, and for me, seeing Cinderella City getting demolished in 1998 was life-changing. This launched in me an interest in architecture and retail design that led to a Master of Architecture degree and a career designing mixed-use developments and retail centers around the world. Today, I work at Autodesk, making 3D modeling software for architects, which I'm using to rebuild Cinderella City for an interactive historic exhibit. When I found out the last remaining piece of Cinderella City was at risk of demolition, I set out to combine my experience in architecture and software design to illustrate an adaptive reuse vision for the future of the Inglewood Civic Center, knowing that adaptive reuse projects preserve history while creating places with authentic character, often costing less than new construction. This is a one-of-a-kind building found only in Inglewood. Its location and historic significance make it uniquely positioned to become the heart of city center, bringing new life to the southwest corner of the neighborhood. In the lower level of the building, an indoor-outdoor food hall could showcase Inglewood artisans and bring new culinary variety to the neighborhood, in the same vein as other adaptive reuse projects like Avanti, the Dairy Block, and the Source in Denver. Eclectic and inviting, the Inglewood Market could be permeable, blurring the line between interior and exterior space. Between the Civic Center and the former 24-hour fitness, a new Inglewood Farmers Market seamlessly integrates with the food hall. Inglewood's new culinary capital brings farm to community and creates a new center of activity in an underutilized space. Just to the south, a new series of outdoor spaces could provide room for socially distant gathering while embracing the site's natural terrain. The terraced promenade gently slopes between levels, and along the way, exhibits could tell the story of the city's history. The new plaza offers room for restaurant dining, tree-lined walks, as well as playful and engaging elements like fountains and art. Grassy hills, connecting the upper and lower levels, could be used for fun family events, calling back to the days before Cinderella City, when this land was Inglewood's city park. At the neighborhood level, imagine improved bicycle and pedestrian access through city center, supporting better connections to nearby neighborhoods, the Mary Carter Greenway, the Inglewood Light Rail Station, as well as potential new developments and structured parking. Of course, this is just one strategy to save and adapt this building into something magical. Another possibility includes opening the structure up further, allowing more light into the upper levels and supporting potential new uses. Down the middle, a new passage could provide open-air access through the building with even more opportunities for history and art exhibits. How about a rooftop restaurant and garden? The mind abounds with possibilities. Inglewood's history is rich, and the city's redevelopment project is an opportunity to celebrate the past while creating a beautiful future. A uniquely Inglewood destination, crafted from a uniquely Inglewood building. If you agree this vision is better than demolishing the building entirely, help me convince the City of Inglewood by signing the petition at change.org/SaveCivicCenter. Let's preserve our history and create the heart of City Center together. Here I am talking to the city. So if you wouldn't mind pulling up the other PDF, I'll just show you guys quick. I'm just going to go through it very fast. And I know that, one of those solutions is going to be cheaper than the other solution. I mean, keeping the building more or less as it is, adding windows, doing a food hall downstairs is probably reasonable. My other idea of doing like a hotel on the upper levels and cutting an alleyway through the middle is more expensive. Mel, are you able to go to the other PDF?
Oh, yep, sorry.
Yes, no, it's okay. This is like the official vision book. So just to flip through this really quick, you know, it goes through kind of the context of the site, but also what I call the heart of city center. There we go. So heart of city center and embracing sort of the terrain. And when I say that, I mean, I'm basically pulling away this parking deck and making a park so that we kind of play with the natural terrain and then making like a terrace promenade like I showed in the video, and then replacing all that parking with structured parking that would be, and at this time I didn't know that Chuck E. Cheese, this was during the pandemic, so I thought Chuck E. Cheese was like maybe going away, so I was like, why don't we put multifamily and parking there? So I understand that some parts of this didn't stand the test of time, but I did the best with what I had, what I knew at the time. So I had two concepts here. This one is like more or less keeping the building as it is, and I'm sorry, there we go. Oh, it's just really slow. Now I understand what's going on. But yeah, basically a food hall down below and offices, kind of like what we have now, but there could be other uses up here. And then, okay, it looks like it's just completely frozen now.
Want me to advance?
Yeah, next page. It's working for you. Okay, yeah, next page. So this is it's just going through the same thing in the video, but I do have like reference images in here that show you how this could feel. And then if you just keep going through the slides, I show some square footages and things like that, and then I have a second concept in here. So anyway, this is the vision book that if somebody was serious about this, you could look at some of the numbers and see what I was thinking in more detail than that video. So anyway, that's my shtick. Thanks for your time.
And then we have Dan Paremba here. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, what you do at the city, goes hand in hand with the Civic Center discussion.
Would you mind flipping my
yes.
slides too? Thank you. So I am Dan Paremba. I'm the Chief Redevelopment Officer for the city. I've been with the city going on 7 years now. And much of that time has been spent really focusing on the redevelopment opportunities for City Center. And we'll get there in a minute.
My computer's loading, it's trying.
Okay.
She's doing her best.
I'll use my back.
Okay, I got it, no worries.
Oh, great. If you can get to the next slide. So this is really the key background to City Center. In 2000, the city entered into a 75-year ground lease with the retail mixed-use developer for all of this property in red, which is primarily the retail and mixed-use portion of the property. And in 2018, the bondholders who had refinanced that property for that developer foreclosed on it. And that's what really brought me to the city, because it opened up the possibility of redevelopment. Without that foreclosure, everything would have stayed essentially as is for now the next 50 years, which is unfortunate. So in many ways, the foreclosure was a true blessing. And then as the mayor alluded to, over the 6 years from 2018 to 2024, we had many discussions with City Council, many briefing sessions, and they supported many, many steps towards the redevelopment. And it was all about really knitting back together the property in red, which was the foreclosed ground lease property, with the property that the city owns and controls in blue. So that provided really a unique opportunity to do a transit-oriented redevelopment at a critical crossroads in the entire metro Denver area. So it was really an exciting opportunity. It still is an exciting opportunity. It's just a number of years later now. So what we ran into was that the what's called a special servicer for the bondholders who foreclosed, an entity called L&R Partners, they turned out to be very, very, very difficult to work with. And basically every time we came up with an idea for collaborating, marketing the property on a combined basis, terminating the ground lease in advance of the disposition of the ground lease, they threw up roadblocks. And the city council has been very cooperative every step along the way. And we came up with a lot of creative ideas, and they took some chances along the way, and we just had an entity that was really difficult to work with. The good news now, as we move to the next slide, is I'll get to this in a minute, but in February and March of 2023, 2 concept plans emerged, and that was because the prior master developer decided to walk away in October of 2022. That was because the special servicer for the bondholders just became impossible to work with. And the 2 concept plans came out of a joint planning session that was participated in by the city council, the members of the Downtown Development Authority Board, and the special servicer, L&R Partners. So what differentiates these 2 plans, which will come up next, is that it has to do with whether this building stays or goes. So if you want to go to the next one, Mel. So here's concept plan 1. It assumes that the Civic Center building is removed. And in fact, we looked extensively at the idea of relocating the Civic Center building into the former 24-hour fitness building, which is actually at 42,000 square feet, a really good fit for the city. It has many more attributes, that building, in terms of its structure, the window lines, the efficiencies of the building as compared to this building, which is really deficient in all those ways. So, the basic plan contemplated about 1,000 units of residential, a new hotel at about 170 rooms, and then adding some mixed-use retail and office. And then the second concept plan is the one that contemplated leaving this building in place and then kind of developing around it. If you can switch to that, Mel, thanks. So here you see the existing building footprint. It generates a number of problems. The way it sits on the side diagonally and in the middle of things, it really constrains redevelopment opportunities. It's ultimately going to be up to the city council what they want to do. But the opportunity cost for the city in terms of foregone development and the inefficiencies of this building and the operating costs of this building are going to be big, big numbers as opposed to doing something else. So in terms of where we are today, Mel, next slide, if you would. In August of last year, L&R selected a joint venture of Ogilvy Properties and DPC companies as their preferred buyer. And the name of that entity is New Inglewood LLC. There are 2 longtime Denver firms. Each of them has been around for 25 years. Each of them has worked on projects in Inglewood. And in November of last year, council approved a resolution authorizing the consent to the transfer of the ground lease to New Inglewood LLC. And then in December, late December, the ground lease transaction finally closed. And so that was about 6-7 years in the making. The next step that's coming up in March is that we have a study session scheduled with City Council for New Inglewood representatives to now come in and talk to City Council about why they need an expedited lease termination agreement as opposed to what we have always contemplated, which would be a more comprehensive agreement where a termination agreement would be tied hand in hand with a redevelopment plan, a redevelopment agreement. So that's going to be up to council to decide. It's a tough decision because the New Inglewood entity has a low enough basis in the property that if City Council decides not to go along with that early termination approach, they can just lease the vacancies and operate the property essentially as is. Not particularly exciting, definitely an underutilization of the property. And what's really kind of heartbreaking is that would probably put off redevelopment for at least 5 or 10 years based on the new leases that they would put in place. So there'll be a lot of discussion. It'll be interesting to see how city council comes out on that. So that's scheduled for several weeks from now, and then possibly an executive session following that for us as staff to take council's direction. Can't remember what the next slide is. We'll find out. Here's some of the positives in terms of lease termination. What has been proposed is that the city would receive in exchange the 24-hour fitness building. They'd receive the 18,000 square feet or 17,000 square feet roughly of retail space on the plaza across the fountain area, which has been underutilized, as we all know, for many, many years, and would create some exciting opportunities. And then the city would also receive an option to purchase the Tokyo Joe's building for a year or longer at a predetermined price. So this is the bottom line. It's a challenging decision for the city. The concept is that the future of this building would be considered essentially on a phased basis as we work through the bigger decisions about the lease termination and moving forward with New Inglewood LLC. So with it, I think there's one last. Happy to take any questions. Thanks for having me.
Is this a rendition photo? Is this a rendition photo, just to be sure?
That was a rendering of concept plan 1 that shows the new Civic Center building being in the 24-hour fitness.
But not true to scale though.
Huh?
It's not really true to scale though. It's a bigger green space then. But
That was, you may remember, that came out of the planning session. There was a strong preference for green space at that particular location, but I think as a practical matter, that would eventually be narrowed down.
It's interesting that it's New Inglewood LLC because that's what the development firm that did Cinderella City in 1968, they were also New Inglewood. So
Now that is
this is New Inglewood 2.0 or 3.0.
You know, and I just want to, not to get too far into the weeds, but as far as the redevelopment of this building goes, we've looked at that fairly extensively, and there are real limitations with this building structurally, operationally. It probably can't be broken up in the ways that were shown. It has to essentially stay as is. It would be very, almost impossible to cut new windows in this building, almost impossible to break it into pieces like that. And if we felt that there was merit in that, or if it was economically feasible, I think it would be looked at again. So just some background on that.
Sorry, forgive me for not understanding, but who came up with the 2 possible plans?
It was a collaboration of the city council, the EDDA board. You know, the EDDA was put in place largely, ultimately to finance portions of the redevelopment. So they are a real stakeholder, and then L&R partners.
But then if the lease were to be terminated early, would they be under any obligation to follow either of those 2 models?
No.
They're just free to do whatever they.
Yeah, but the reality is that their portion, we've moved away from a master developer approach that would involve both the city property and the former Weingart property. So the reality is they're just left with that big super block, and it's most feasible for family development. And so that's what they would focus on, although they are revising and refining their plans to try to come up with something that represents more of an Inglewood look to the project versus kind of just the neutral, site plans and models which we've used in the past.
What might be an Inglewood look, for example?
What is the Inglewood look?
What might it be, for example?
That has been one of the mysteries all along. As things have been presented to the EDDA, to the city council, one of the comments that always comes up is, well, we want it to look like Inglewood. Well, and then the question is, well, what does Inglewood look like? And that opens up, an endless discussion. So New Inglewood is working with Dig Studio as a land planner and architect to add some new flavor to what they are going to be presenting to the city council and then later to the DDA board and the public. So we'll get a new look at what the Inglewood flavor is.
And we see Rick.
Yeah. Rick?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. That was really good. I actually sat in on one of the ones from the Historical Society that were done earlier, and that's fun to see. Thank you for all that work on that too. My question has to do with the financial demand on the city. Have numbers been sort of formulated regarding the first and second options on this, or we're just waiting until something happens to move this thing forward?
In terms of revenue generation for the city, that doesn't really happen until we get over onto this block and we have the potential of selling off some development sites. So the focus is really going to be on how to fund perhaps some infrastructure that's needed on the adjacent former Weingarten property. And again, that's one of the reasons that the EDDA was put in place, and they were authorized with $70 million of bond financing. There's also been extensive discussion about creating a metro district for the owners within the area to essentially self-tax themselves to a limited extent to provide funding for certain infrastructure. But between the EDDA and the metro district funding and the private sector funding, there shouldn't really be a demand on the city to fund development. And when we get onto this block, there's really a big opportunity to create revenue for the city to contribute in part towards the redevelopment of this block.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just one question. When you said it's nearly impossible to cut windows into this building, I think these windows over here might beg to differ. So it's difficult, but
I would just say, you know that we spent a lot of time with Tribe looking at the potential of renovating this building, and that was very limited. And I won't speak to every detail, but I would say it's cost prohibitive, and architecturally, structurally, it may be more limited than some of your concept plans indicate. Yeah.
I didn't understand a couple things because this is all new language. So you said on March 3rd, the city council will have a study session to look at a couple alternatives, and one is that they would just release out the buildings that are there and it would be kind of lame. And the other alternative is accelerating the lease sale.
Termination.
What does that mean? Terminating it from whom? To
Terminating the ground lease from the city to New Inglewood LLC that now has 50 years left. And if the city council agrees to terminate the ground lease on an expedited basis, it then allows the new owner to proceed with a redevelopment plan approach.
And why do you think they wouldn't, or what would be the argument why they wouldn't want to do that?
I think because in the past,
wouldn't want to do that?
Yeah.
we've had a lot of discussion, and the assumption has been that the redevelopment agreement would be tied together with a termination agreement. And now New Englewood wants to pull them apart so that they can proceed more quickly and not wait for every detail of a redevelopment agreement to be worked out and documented, which is probably, the balance of the year, actually.
Okay.
Which is getting to a termination agreement, which could probably be achieved in a couple of months.
And where does the 2-year delay come into the picture with New Englewood? Would that be part of the early termination?
I might have misspoken about a delay. I think if they cannot get the city council's approval of an early termination, they would proceed to just lease up existing vacancy and operate. And there would be some inherent delay if council elects to give them the early termination, and then they need to move forward with all their plans and put those into a redevelopment agreement that can then be considered by the city council.
Gotcha.
So can I just articulate this in really simple terms to see if I
Please.
understand?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, it's okay. So if the lease were terminated, it would be good because the lame, old vacant buildings would be turned into presumably something better. But the downside is that Inglewood would not have any control over that development and any say.
Actually, when we come to the redevelopment agreement portion of the overall relationship, yeah, I think we'd have quite a bit of control. We have new zoning in place in City Center with design guidelines and a process for reviewing projects that's, more detailed than it was in the past. So yeah, I think we would have a lot of control. In effect, we would probably have more control over the aesthetic and appearance and function than we would if they were to just move ahead and lease up the current buildings as is.
Presumably over getting a chance to weigh in on the sustainability of the development as well, and whether it's, in tandem with that vision.
The sustainability.
Yeah, that is, what this commission is.
Yeah.
This is kind of us getting to talk about not just the operating costs and the carbon footprint of the building itself, but I'm thinking about like the walkability and bikeability of the entire area as it's being redeveloped too. So I'd be more personally interested in what would give us the chance to make a more specific recommendation, or when we might expect to make a more specific recommendation to city council as a commission.
Yeah, I think once plans, we were, I think, here many years ago, but once plans started to become firmed up, I think it would be incumbent on the developer to visit all of the boards and commissions and for them to, make recommendations to the Planning and Zoning Commission as well as to the City Council.
Would it be specifically required or something that we would like to see them do?
I think as a practical matter, the City Council would require that. They're going to be looking for a certain amount of public outreach and feedback. So yeah, and sustainability and environmental factors are built in pretty extensively into the design guidelines.
I'd be eager to hear more about that. Yeah.
How does the library fit into where it could go? Where might the library go?
We don't know the answer to that. There's thoughts that the library could go into the first floor of one of the adjacent multifamily buildings. That might be a really good way to give them new space and to activate the first floor of those buildings. There's a possibility that it could even go across the plaza into the retail spaces that front onto the plaza. It'd be perhaps a nice way to activate the plaza, which is one of the problems that it faces now. It's not very active, but we'd have to look at the specific fit. And, there's a general thought that the library could be downsized just because it has so much space that's wide open and not effectively used right now. So that we would take another look at all the square footage programming for the city departments as well as the library. Yeah, John.
If I may ask, if the library is already facing into the plaza and already on the ground floor, so when you say putting it on the ground floor would activate the plaza, what would be different about that approach versus what's happening now?
I think it's, if you look at it now, it's basically north facing. It's buried inside both the, this side of the building as well as the parking structure side of the building. Whereas if portions of it were to go across the plaza, it would be south facing, it would be in the sun, it would be very obvious to to people who are coming and going to the light rail station. So hopefully those things would make a difference.
I guess I'm still not understanding. So if the city were to expedite the lease, the termination of the lease, like, would there be a guarantee that the library would still remain within the development, or is that something that is not contractually obligated?
Can you go back a number of slides to the original site plan? I think it's number 2. This idea that we came up with, basically creating Inca as a dividing line, basically said, hey, let the buyer of the ground lease deal with the former wine garden property and let the city maintain control over everything that it has over here, including this building and the library.
Okay.
And then city council and others can make decisions to move that forward on whatever pace they elect.
Okay.
And we're not necessarily tied to a redeveloper's view of what should happen with this building and with the library. So,
Okay,
hope
thanks for
that
the
helps.
clarification. Yeah, that does.
It makes things less stressful and less burdened
Yeah.
by separating the two pieces of the property, even though the city and the developer might, it might become obvious that they're working really well together and there's a great opportunity to create a public-private partnership.
Okay, that makes sense.
Adam's just what you were
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about.
So the original redevelopment plan tried to tie it all together.
Okay.
And then because we had such a difficult time with Al and our partners, that's when we split it back out and we said, hey, let the city just continue to exercise its dominion over this property, and the buyer of the ground lease can deal initially at least with this portion of the property. And what we really want to do in terms of the exchange with the ground lease termination is get control over this building to try to consolidate this portion of the city property, and also gain control of this plaza fronting retail space.
Okay, thanks for your patience.
Yeah.
I understand.
I have a question about the plaza fronting retail space and just activating the first floor, as you mentioned, very smart. So my understanding of the challenges that this area currently has is that, one, there's not enough foot traffic to support vibrant retail, and a part of that is because the apartment buildings just aren't tall enough to have enough people living in this core. So are there, I guess, maybe as part of the planning and zoning updates that you mentioned, or are there any requirements on the developer to be thoughtful about how many people will live here and making sure there is a successful mix of commercial and residential space?
It's definitely, there's a conflict there because really for the retail to be successful, we need more residential, which means it needs to be taller, which means it's more expensive, which makes it less affordable. So there's been a lot of investigation of that, and a good number of city council members actually wanted those buildings to be taller. And the recent rezoning increased the minimum density required, but they're not 7+ story buildings. They're kind of in the 4 to 6 story range.
So what would be in the area that would draw people in to hang out there? There's the library, and there's people who will live in these new buildings, but what would draw people from other parts of Englewood?
I think one of the challenges for the developer is to figure out that strategy. And it's a tough strategy. I mean, what do you do with first floor spaces? What do you do with transit-oriented developments that have lost a lot of their appeal because the transit customers are no longer visiting them, you know? So they just have to figure it out. Part of, you know, we'll try to address that in some of the covenants that go along with termination of the ground lease. We have a big issue here. I think Josh remembers this, though. We have an obligation, we the city, to park 910 shared parking spaces for RTD. And of those, you know, 300 are in the garage and 600 are in the north parking lot. And of those 900 spaces, you know, they're less than 10% now utilized on a daily basis.
Is there an opportunity to renegotiate that?
Yes. We've
Cut them in half or something?
yes, we've talked about eliminating the 300 space obligation in the parking structure as a start.
Has a food hall? I mean, my idea was a food hall, which, you know, people love food and beverage. Has that been discussed in your proposals?
Food halls have been discussed by the developers who have looked at it, yeah.
Okay. And then is Chuck E. Cheese in play or no?
Unfortunately, Chuck E. Cheese is not in play.
And it'll never be in play? I mean, there's no chance of that happening?
You know, we've looked at it at different times. I think it's essentially a store controlled by a corporate-friendly entity. They recently renovated that store. And so I think it's locked in there unless somebody just generates, you know, a humongous proposal and perhaps relocates them somewhere else on the site.
They own it? They own their...
The entity that is related to Chuck E. Cheese owns it.
I see.
And they have a number of Chuck E. Cheeses.
Yes.
Which continue to be, you know, very appealing to kids.
It's going to stick out like a sore thumb, you know, even in this proposal.
The new Lava Island store in the Inglewood Marketplace, which is due to open shortly, will give Chuck E. Cheese some real competition.
Nice.
I don't know, that's how
I guess one more question for you. So this next city council meeting, this is just an initial presentation to them, or is this, and then next city council, they'll make a decision, or is this the beginnings of a long process?
Don't know all the answers to that. We've tried to provide New Inglewood representatives an opportunity to come, talk to council, explain why it's so important to them to expedite the termination. And I imagine council will have a lot of discussion about it, and it'll probably take them another meeting to formulate their direction to staff.
Sure, that makes sense.
And, you know, one of the things, I mean, the reality is they want to make sure that it appears to the public that they're getting something of full value in return for terminating the ground lease.
Right.
Even though the reality is, under the ground lease, the city doesn't receive any payments for the next 50 years. It was all prepaid up front.
Are you also involved in the Old Hamden redevelopment or not? You personally?
A little bit. I get involved with, the two things I've been involved with are relationships with the two hospitals, with Craig and with Swedish. And we've really tried to partner much more with them in community development. And then the upgrades and changes to the shuttle and the renaming of the shuttle and the new vehicles, which will go into operation shortly.
Okay. My real question is asking is that I'm really excited about the shared use paths that are going in there, which seem much needed as a bicyclist compared to just paint on a road being shoved in with the cars. And I'm hoping that could maybe be incorporated into whatever concept goes forward. Do you think that might be considered?
Oh yeah, it has been. The DDA has worked with us to try to bring some of those same concepts into the city center area. And I have no doubt that they'll definitely be a focus on pedestrian and other forms of transportation.
My request, if I might, is that bicyclists usually get left off of the conversation and people think of cars and then maybe they think of pedestrians, but they almost never think of bicyclists. And they can't really mix with the cars and they can't really go on the sidewalks. So if that could be thought of at every step of the way, I would be so happy.
I think it's a great point. I can assure you that there's been a lot of conversation about the bicycles. So they have a strong seat at the table.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that is what I would be thrilled to see is a like inviting walkable corridor that could connect the train station to the kind of downtown blocks of Broadway, that could connect over to the hospitals and make an east-west strip of stuff that'll drive foot traffic, that will make people want to walk over this way from Broadway instead of what there is now.
Yeah, we have that challenge, which is kind of the 2+ blocks of no man's land in front of Walmart. So yeah, that's something we will be working on.
Cool.
So I'm sorry I took so much of your time.
No, this is what wanted y'all here for.
I'm happy to come talk to you as things progress and give you more detail and get more feedback from you all.
Yeah, fantastic.
So hopefully we'll have something real to talk about here in the near future.
Thank you both for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then if you both are okay with that, I'll share the PowerPoints that you all had with the commission afterwards, if that's okay? Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, we are almost done.
Should I leave now?
If you want to, so you can, but by no means feel like you have to.
I might want to
Be
get on the road.
free.
I have to go back to Denver.
Yes, be free.
But if you can hand me my
Yep, right here.
referrals that I gave you. Oh, thank you.
Yes. Okay, wrapping up with the last few things for city updates. The main thing I just want to get across is we're in the trenches of Earth Day planning. We're having our Earth Day celebration April 26th. It's happening right after the South Platte Renew River cleanup. We're hoping we don't get snowed out this year, but we have a contingency plan of moving everything inside. If it does, it'll happen rain or shine. We're hopefully going to have Sanitas there as our beer tent person too, which will be really awesome. But we're doing other events just like last year. We actually got a lot of good resident feedback that they love that. They want to see more of it. So Aiden is putting together a really, really awesome business event for the Tri-Cities on April 14th at Broken Tea. If you all have any businesses that are interested in sustainability or the program, once that event is live, I'll share it with the commission to share. They get like a free bucket of balls and free compost from A1 Organics. Like, it's going to be a really cool event. And then we're planning other internal ones for residents during that month too. But I wanted to pitch to the commission, since you all are sustainability minded folks, if there's something that you're like, wow, I think myself or my neighbors would really like this specific event, let me know and I will try my hardest to make it happen. An example is last year we had Dana Liebert, who is a resident, come give a presentation on native plants and xeriscaping, and that one was hands down the most attended one because it was residents that said that they wanted that event. So if you think of any, you don't have to think of them out, just let me know and we'll try and make them happen for April.
How about a cooking demonstration on induction from the guy who, doesn't he live in Inglewood?
Yes, Andrew did a cooking, I felt so, he did a cooking demo, and it was one of the fluke nights where we got terrible weather. And I was like, oh, Mother Nature, I swear. Anytime I put on an event, she's like, now's my time to not shine. But yeah, I can absolutely reach out to him. And that program has been really popular for our new folks. We have a sustainability grant that launched last year. It's launching again this year, where residents can implement grassroots sustainability initiatives that they want to see. We had someone use their $1,000 funding to start an induction stove rental program with our library, so it's long-standing. It's been super popular. I think for the first like 2 months, it was 100% in rotation. And one of the things that a lot of people get worried about is like, will people return the pots and pans clean? And they've had no issues. Like everyone's been so respectful. It's just been really positive. So yeah, feel free to check out an induction stove.
I don't know if it is already planned yet, but I think that is perfect timing for another Zero Scaping, Colorado Scaping type of presentation of here's good plans. It's, you know, we're starting to plan things along those lines.
Yeah.
I would agree that there was a lot of community interest in that at the workshop in terms of like people wanting to know more about you know, replanting their yards, et cetera. I don't know if Resource Central would even, you know, potentially show up or have a demo or have an interest in partnering.
They have workshops on their website. I think they're virtual, so I'm sure they have people who just do one in person.
Yeah.
And Dana's good too.
No.
And Tracy, don't you do it as well for your company?
I could team up with Dana. And, I mean, Wild Ones is a great organization, which Dana is a part of, and I am. You know, so yeah, I think there's a lot of people but I'd be happy to partner.
I'll connect with you tomorrow.
Okay.
I was thinking as part of either that Earth Day celebration or something else is including that sustainability class that from the school.
Oh, Sage?
Yes. Having
Yes.
them do something
That'd be
or
cool.
put together
I
something.
love
That's
that.
a great idea.
What was the class?
It's from which school is that?
Colorado's Finest has a program called SAGE, Sustainable Agriculture and Green Energy. I hope that's what it stands for. But we had one of their teachers come and give a presentation a few months ago, and I got to tour their class actually, and it's so cool. They do like composting with the kids, they do like farming, they do a bunch of really cool stuff, and they're always looking for ways to get engaged with the community.
Can you remind me when the tree sale is, if you know off the top of your head?
The Arbor Day tree sale is someday in April. I don't want to tell you the wrong date, so I'll put that as an action item for me to follow up with it. But that's a good one too. Okay, great. Am I good to move on to the last thing, Patrick? Okay. All right, last thing is just March meeting idea topics. I have some in here from what folks said before. So Christine had brought up having someone from Go Electric Colorado come. They are a group of completely volunteers. It's a nonprofit, and they help homeowners. And it sounds like they're dabbling into commercial and green workforce as well, but free, like go-to help of electrifying your home. And they do some pretty cool stuff. So I already connected with them, and they said they'd be happy to come if that's an interest to you all. And then we did wrap up our resiliency workshops in January. We actually have quite a few people in the room that was there, which is really awesome. We didn't do a report out today because I knew that this conversation would be a little bit longer. That just would be a lot. So we can give a report out in March if you all would like to hear the results from that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And then two final other things. So we do have new members on the commission, and every once in a while, commissions will look at if they still like their meeting time, if they like their day of the month, if they like their meeting time at 6:30. So you all can noodle on that, and if you all want to propose any changes for next meeting, you can let us know, or if 6:30 works, we can keep going with that. So that can be a March topic idea. And then the last one is that the utilities department wanted me to ask you all if you would be open to them coming in July or August to give an update on their water efficiency plan.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Fabulous. I will tell them yes. Any other ideas or topics you want
Only
to?
if they're gonna make a video that would compete with Denver Water.
I'll be like an asterisk on that one. Any other topics people want to hear for March? All right. Patrick, I'm handing it back to you.
That wraps it up. Any other questions, comments? None? Welcome new members. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Michael, for your time, and go ahead and adjourn this meeting.
All right, Mike, are we headed to Gallo?
Sure.
Let's do it. It's on my
I haven't been to Gallo in so
Great.
long.
Have you
The
been?
last time I was there
I've been
to try to
twice
get them to do an interview.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
nice.
I went
You?
to Reno. Yeah, and I have.
Your phone looks like mine.
Once.
Like, same
Good.
thing and same.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it's
broken-
crap. No, no,
Yeah,
that's
same
well.
A friend.
People look at my phone and they're like, that gives me anxiety. I'm like, I know, I even have another case for it too.
Good job.
Ended there.
Okay, Christine, I just love it so much because I feel like every person I talk to in local government who has worked with you, they're like,
I have a feeling I had the least
so
impressive.
amazing. Oh, yeah, she's on my commission. One of my aspirants is Hannah Miller.
It is weird.
Oh, wow, Christina single-handedly.
And then I was there over the last
Oh, that's nice.
No, I wasn't.
I was like, good. I owe them
It was the same as the process. I applied.
Oh, I'm sure they're just so grateful.
all-
And the Friday actually happens, and the Sunday, what's wrong?
Oh, totally. I have more. Okay. This is my work phone and my personal phone.
I think
All right, who
it opens up.
do I not have?
Forms, I can give you mine.
Okay, yeah, is that correct, Mel? I'm sorry, you weren't listening. When did the applications, for, this board actually open up?
I think it happens twice a year.
Yes,
Okay,
and it's
there-
actually about to open up again,
Okay.
which seems so fast to me, but I can. Bruce, I have your email from the workshop, if you want me to reach out to that one and tell you the openings for the other ones.
Okay.
We would love to have you.
It took a little bit of time, but so.
Yes,
Okay.
you just couldn't come today.
Yeah, we also did.
So unfortunately, I missed him on Cinderella City.
It's so great to have you.
Yeah, it's fun.
Sing
I get so excited.
over the
with
sound
your
system
faces.
of Cinderella
I know.
as a high school student.
Because how long have you been like
Every year
working
for
for
Christmas.
Inglewood/Sheridan?
I've been with
Through the-
Inglewood for
through
a
the whole
little over
place.
3 years.
Okay, yeah.
And I've been with
That's been just a few
Sheridan for
years.
a little over 2. I always forget to log it in.
Yeah.